Hey everybody, Boris. Welcome to the crosses section for April 10th to April 14th, 2017. And this week we kind of look at the Aussie complex because there's just actually a lot of interesting stories on the Aussie side. The crosses I'm looking at this week, Euro Aussie with resistance 42 to 140. Aussie CAD, which surprisingly enough actually looks very negative to the downside and possibly a test of parity. Resistance 102 and supported parity. And Aussie Kiwi, which is interesting because it's at a crossroads here and could turn one way or the other depending on, I guess, how the data set goes this week. Let's take a look at all of them in more detail here, and I'll explain to you kind of when I find everything so interesting on the Aussie side. So here's Euro Aussie. Now Euro Aussie is really in the midst of this very indefinitive moment right now. It actually looks like it could have failed at around the 142 mark twice, but at the same time it's sort of also holding the 141, and this is kind of a very, very key moment here. A break, I think, below the 140.50 level really pulls us all the way down towards the 140 and possibly even a lower test there. On the other hand, if we can just take out the 141.50 to the upside, that would really present a much more high probability bet towards a run all the way out to the 143s. It still looks on a longer term chart as a positive chart with just basically a stall at these levels. This week, of course, we have the Australian data, we have the fears on the Eurozone, and it's kind of interesting to see where we stand, whether the failure to the downside or the move to the upside is going to be the one that's winning. Right now, we are ourselves short Euro Aussie on the assumption that we could get a little bit more negative Euro move through the Aussie factor. And certainly the failure here twice suggests that you could have more of a turn, but it's not definitive. And technically, there's still potential here for a move to the upside. So I think if the trade moves to like 141.50, it would negate the negative bias, and it would really be a much more of a stronger upside move as we go forward. Now, Aussie CAD is interesting because here is a clear negative move, which is actually a surprising clear negative move because I didn't realize how much of a downside move the Aussie CAD had here. On the other hand, I'm positive dollar CAD, and this is where it gets interesting because if you take a punt here, you could certainly take a punt in front of the parity line on the assumptions that CAD is going to get weaker and Aussie is going to get stronger. We get a move back up. On the other hand, a break below the 150 through the level over here, which is very, very close, really puts us on a very strong path towards parity, and that could be a very interesting trade as well. So it's a momentum trade right now. I think unless the trade moves back up towards the 101 handle, at that point you're wrong. But despite the fact that I'm actually bullish Aussie against the Euro mildly, I'm negative Aussie against the CAD on a technical basis, looking at the charts over here. And sort of our last look here is Aussie Kiwi, which is also very interesting because that trade is negative, but also finding some support here. The whole theme here is Aussie is at a crossroads, and it could be a very good trade one way or the other, depending on just very small movements in one direction or the next. So the Aussie Kiwi trade here looks like it actually found the bottom, right? And perhaps maybe this is the strongest signal that Aussie still has some strength at the 75 level. This 107.50 level held. But a break again here, a break below the 107.50, we're sort of, in all these situations, we're basically 40-50 points away from a stronger negative move in the Aussie. That's why it's so important. And watching, of course, Aussie at 75, that's why this whole Aussie 74.50, 75 level is so critical, not just for itself on the major part, but on the crosses part as we enter into the week. Generally, though, I really do like this one on a technical basis to the long side. So there's some support here that Aussie looks relatively good against the Kiwi, mildly okay against the Euro, and kind of negative against the CAD. So you basically have a pick of all three situations here of how you want to participate. But if you are trading sort of the pure Aussie Kiwi trade here, it does look like it found a little bit of support here. And if 75 does hold, then you have a chance here for a move back up towards the 109 level. Aussie Kiwi generally has definitely been an up trade with a definitive correction here down to the 108 level. 108 level kind of held, and as long as I suppose, as long as 107.50 holds, and this is really the big level, you could still participate this to the long side. This is why, in some ways, it's an interesting trade because the risk here is relatively small. If it goes below 107.50, you're clearly wrong. This now turns into a sell rather than a buy, and it's a relatively short stop out. On the other hand, buying it here, you have a very small amount of risk, and if it does begin to climb, the chance for a move back up to 109, 110, relatively significant. So that's how the crosses shape up. It's really sort of the which way does Aussie go story this week, and we'll be following that very, very closely as the week progresses. Wish you guys the best of luck, the best of trading. Boris, over and out.